We've all seen those epic survival scenes in movies, where our hero magically survives every worst-case scenario with nothing more than grit and luck. But guess what? Half of what you've seen on screen would have you tapping out faster than you can say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Let's break down 10 popular survival myths that could get you unalived if you ever try them in the real world. 1. Drinking cactus water will keep you hydrated. Thanks to Hollywood, we have this image of cacti as nature's personal water bottles. You've seen it. The hero, wandering in the scorching desert, chops open a cactus and drinks refreshing, life-saving water straight from it. Easy, right? Except for one tiny detail. Most cacti don't contain refreshing water. They contain a gross, toxic liquid that can cause intense nausea and vomiting. Some species, like the fishhook barrel cactus, might have water in them. But even then, it's not as simple as sticking a straw in and sipping. Cactus water is typically packed with alkaloids, compounds that can cause severe stomach distress and dehydration. So instead of quenching your thirst, you're more likely to find yourself hugging a cactus while you vomit. In other words, if you're already dehydrated, cactus water could be the last thing you ever drink. 2. You can suck snake venom out of a bite. This myth has been around forever, popularized by westerns and survival flicks alike. Someone gets bitten by a snake, and their buddy rushes to the rescue, slapping their mouth over the wound to suck out the venom. You know, like a DIY human vacuum. Here's the problem. Venom enters the bloodstream almost instantly, meaning that by the time you even consider pulling the heroic suck maneuver, it's already too late. You're not getting that venom out. And if you're not careful, you might end up ingesting it yourself, adding venom to your mouth, and potentially getting it into your own bloodstream via cuts or sores. Now, instead of one person dealing with a venomous snake bite, you've got two. Teamwork doesn't always make the dream work. What you should do is remain calm, keep the bite area immobilized, and seek immediate medical attention. Sucking the venom out is a fool's errand that could lead to even more problems. 3. You can punch a shark in the nose to escape. We've all seen the dramatic moment. The shark emerges, mouth wide open, ready to chomp down on its next meal, and then, bam! The hero punches it square in the nose, and the shark swims away in shame, having learned a valuable lesson about human dominance. In cases where the sharks are not being aggressive, pushing them up away from you by the nose is recommended by some. But if they are in attack mode, things change. Here's the cold, wet reality. Trying to punch a shark in the nose is like trying to give a freight train a love tap. It's not easy, and in the water, your movements are slower and weaker than you think. The nose is a relatively small target, especially when you're facing a thrashing, 15-foot-long predator. Experts agree that if you're in a life-or-death struggle with a shark, aiming for the eyes or gills is a better bet. Sharks have incredibly sensitive eyes and gills, and attacking those areas is more likely to make them back off. But honestly, your best survival tactic is to stay out of shark-infested waters altogether. Because let's face it, are you really confident enough to go toe-to-fin with a shark? 4. If you're cold, build a huge fire to warm up. The classic movie scenario. You're freezing, stuck in the middle of nowhere, so you do the obvious thing. You build a huge, raging bonfire. Suddenly you're toasty warm, problem solved. Except, not really. Building a large fire might sound like a great idea, but it can actually be more trouble than it's worth. First of all, a big fire consumes a lot of fuel, meaning you'll burn through your resources faster than you realize. Second, large fires can be hard to control, especially in windy or dry conditions. One wrong move, and you could find yourself in the middle of a wildfire. Plus, a massive fire is like a giant, "Here I am," signal to anyone or anything nearby, whether it's wildlife, hostile humans, or just nosy neighbors. If you're in a true survival situation where you need to remain undetected, a roaring fire is basically you announcing your location to the entire world. Instead, opt for a smaller controlled fire that'll keep you warm without drawing attention or draining your resources, unless you are seeking rescue or for a larger group. 5. You can use a car battery to jumpstart a fire. This one sounds cool in theory. After all, who wouldn't want to look like MacGyver, sparking a fire with nothing but a car battery and some wires? It's the kind of improvisation that movies make look incredibly easy. But here's the reality. Unless you really know what you're doing, trying to start a fire with a car battery can go horribly wrong. Car batteries store a significant amount of energy, and shorting one out incorrectly could cause it to explode, send sparks flying, or even electrocute you. You could end up with a burnt hand, or worse, no fire at all and a dead car battery. A simpler, safer method? Use a lighter or carry a ferro rod, which is designed specifically for fire starting. Leave the car battery for, well, starting your car. 6. Rubbing 2 sticks together will start a fire. This is one of those classic survival scenes. The lone survivor, deep in the wilderness, rubs 2 sticks together furiously until, magically, a fire appears. It's gritty, it's primal, and it's mostly nonsense for the average person. Yes, it is technically possible to start a fire by rubbing sticks together, but it requires the perfect combination of wood type, dryness, and technique. Even experienced survivalists find this method extremely difficult and time-consuming. And have you seen that one episode of Survivor where the two went head-to-head in a fire-making challenge and couldn't for hours even with tools? It was rough. For the average person, you're more likely to get blisters on your hands than actual flames. And in a survival situation, wasting hours trying to start a fire when you could be conserving energy or seeking shelter is a terrible idea. Instead of hoping you'll have the right materials and skills, just carry a lighter or waterproof matches. You'll thank yourself when it's freezing outside, and you don't have hours to spare rubbing sticks together. 7. You can outrun a bear. Hollywood has done a great job making us believe that we can outrun anything if we're desperate enough. Bears included. Just sprint for your life and the bear will lose interest, right? Not quite. Bears can run up to 35 miles per hour, much faster than even the fastest human on Earth. For reference, Usain Bolt's top speed is about 27 miles per hour, and unless you've been hiding your Olympic sprinting career from the world, you're not outrunning a bear anytime soon. Instead of trying to outrun the bear, the smarter option is to stand your ground, make yourself appear larger, and make noise. Bears are typically not interested in a fight, and showing that you're not prey can often de-escalate the situation. But if you run immediately after making contact with it, you might trigger their instinct to chase, so good luck with that. Straight. Follow a river to civilization. Just follow the river, it'll lead you to civilization. It sounds logical, right? Water leads to people, and people lead to safety. Unfortunately, rivers can lead you in the exact opposite direction of where you want to go. Rivers wind through deep wilderness, mountains, and even dangerous terrains like canyons. Plus, just because you're following a river doesn't mean you'll find a town or village anytime soon. You could end up wandering for days, depleting your energy, all for a river that leads to nowhere. While water sources are valuable for staying hydrated, your focus should be on finding shelter, signaling for help, and navigating intelligently. A river might provide hydration, but it's not a guaranteed lifeline to civilization, so be sure what your main focus is. Of course, sticking to a body of water that supplies food or fresh water can also be a lifesaver, depending on the resources it provides as you hike along it. Choose wisely. 9. You can eat anything that animals eat. This myth makes sense at first glance. Animals are eating those berries, and they're fine, so you should be too, right? Wrong. The digestive systems of animals are vastly different from ours, meaning they can eat things that would make us seriously sick, or worse. Just because a bird or squirrel can munch on something doesn't mean it's safe for humans. And yeah, I know that squirrel makes it look tasty, or heck, even the squirrel might look tasty if you're desperate. There are plenty of plants and berries that are toxic to us, but harmless to animals, so copying them could land you in the emergency room, or worse. Unless you have solid knowledge of wild edibles, it's safer to avoid foraging altogether. Stick to food sources you know are safe, or bring food with you. Don't play Russian roulette with nature. 10. Quicksand will swallow you whole. Thanks to Hollywood, quicksand has become one of the biggest wilderness threats in the public imagination. You've seen the scene. The hero takes one wrong step and instantly starts sinking into quicksand, slowly being devoured until only their hand is left above the surface. The reality is much less dramatic. Quicksand is dense, and while you can get stuck in it, you're not going to be swallowed whole. At most, you'll sink to your waist or chest, but the real danger is panic. Yes, there are extreme cases where it can be very deep and dangerous, but again, this is on rarer occasions, so remain calm. The more you struggle, the harder it is to get out. But if you stay calm, lean back, and slowly work your way to firmer ground, you can escape without being turned into a human smoothie. The key takeaway here? Quicksand is more of an inconvenience than an ending sentence in many situations, so don't lose your cool if you stumble into some. And there you have it. 10 survival myths that could get you wiped out if you take them at face value. The next time you're stuck in the wilderness, remember that Hollywood's version of survival isn't going to save you. Reality is a bit more complicated and way less glamorous. Stay smart, stay safe, and above all, don't believe everything you see on screen. Godspeed, friends.